The next thing I'm going to talk about is line. So line is essentially anything in imagery that creates a visual guide for the eye. I'm literally talking about an actual line. But they don't always have to be literal lines. They can be, well, some examples of physical lines that you're probably going to see are railroads or telegraph poles with telegraph lines on them, roads, walls, or railings. Then we have a different kind of line, which is the implied line. Eye, where they're looking, potentially the edge of a shadow, or maybe even a number of things in a row that are of equal height that seem to draw a line across the top of them. A line is essentially anything that our eyes are naturally drawn to move along. They help structure a composition, and most importantly, they help move our eye around the image. And in particular, we might want to use lines to point our viewer towards the subject. Now, there's a number of different types of lines. First off, we have the horizontal line. So going from left to right in our image. They're quite calm, they're stable, they're peaceful. They're often used for landscapes or for product photography to really ground the product. They tend not to carry a lot of emotional tension because they're literally flat lines. They're dead emotionally is one way to think about it. And every image tends to have them in its horizon. And then next is the vertical lines. And vertical lines make us move up and down the image. Now, vertical lines can create a stronger sense of emotion with tension or power, and it's literally because we're looking from down to up. And the third of our straight lines, which I would argue is the most powerful, is the diagonal. Our eyes tend to follow down diagonal lines, and the extent of the gradient usually conveys a sense of speed. So if we have a very sharp diagonal line, our eyes will move quickly along it and arriving at our subject. And the sort of steeper that angle is, the more tension that it conveys, the more energy that there is in the image. They're fantastic for adding a sense of tension and flow, and they can be used to create different dynamics between two particular subjects. Then we'll get into the two more sort of special lines. And there's the leading line, which could be any kind of shape of line. But a leading line is one that doesn't just move you around the image, it draws you all the way through it. So potentially you could think of an image where the line starts at your foot in the image, and it's a road, and it carries on all the way off into the horizon. It might be a leading line because it's drawn our eyes all the way through the image, and ideally, usually the payoff would be the subject. And then the final form of line that you can expect to encounter is the curve line. The curve line is a bit whimsical. We move along it more slowly. It has a sense of elegance. It's soft. There's a strong feminine sense to it. And it's a really good thing to use in beauty or skincare. And in particular, there is the S-shaped curve line, which it creates a very, very satisfying and peaceful curve line to draw our eyes through the image in this sort of whimsical way. So let's just recap. So why might we want to use lines? Well, lines can be used to point us in a direction towards a subject or an object. They can be used to draw relationships between two subjects. Diagonal line can convey lots of speed, energy, and emotion in an image. Potentially, we might want to use lines to actually frame a subject. We could use them as partitions within our image. We could box certain aspects. We could box certain aspects in. We want people to think about as being separate or trapped from the rest of the image. Yeah, and as I said before, they're great for drawing relationships between two objects.